Hey everyone, welcome to Criterion Connection. I'm Joe.
And I'm Scott.
And we're here to talk about,
Some Like It Hot. I see where you go.
from 1959, a Billy Wilder film, one of the great classics from the legend himself.
Wild Willie Wilder, man.
Yeah.
Triple dub.
And
3-dub,
we
as
are
we call them in the code.
we are doing Some Like It Hot. It stars Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, Marilyn Monroe. Some of you may have heard of her.
Actually, the number of people who have is getting smaller and smaller.
Oh yeah.
If I'm being honest, I mean,
But
I mean, is that weird to think about?
a little bit.
Even the fact that like these people were like before our time, but we still know,
Yeah.
and it's just like less and less. Like there weren't that a lot when we were kids and stuff. It's getting old scary to me.
Yeah, I mean we're what 65, 66 years removed.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say we're 6. I'm like, dude, I'm in my mid-30s. Okay, don't age me too much.
But it's a, how would we describe this film? It's a comedy, romantic comedy with.
I wouldn't even say a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
This is a comedy where at least two people go out on a date. Because there's not really romance. This is
Fair.
This is like the most, and I don't say this in a mean-spirited way. This is like the peak example of like old-timey, like materialistic relationships where it's like it's not necessarily they only want the things that you have, but like it's just as important.
Yeah.
But kind of not really. But it's weird to say. It's like being a gold digger, but without being a gold digger, if that makes sense.
Well, in all fairness, it truly becomes a romance movie like towards the end.
Yes.
It's a very platonic movie.
Yeah.
For about 70% of it.
Well, right, but that'd be like watching a movie where one person gets stabbed at the very end and trying to say it's a slasher movie.
Fair.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it starts off with I don't remember what their actual names were. Sorry, guys. But Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis, they're musicians.
It starts even before that because they're not even shown right away.
Right.
So we start off taking place in 1929 Chicago, height of bootlegging era.
The mafia.
And we're following some bootleggers that are running some booze
At a funeral home.
to a funeral home, which turns out to be a speakeasy owned by the local
Mob boss.
mob boss.
Was it Spats?
Yeah, Spats, and because he wears Spats. Yeah, we go.
And he's there for his for Grandma's funeral.
Yeah,
he's one of the pallbearers.
Yeah.
See, I actually watched this one,
and it's within the speakeasy. We meet our two leads, Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, who are musicians playing saxophone and bass.
Joe and Jerry, respectively.
Joe and Jerry.
Tony being Joe, and Jack being Jerry. I did not just look at that,
but
I remember.
They're playing music, just trying to make money. They're probably put up by one of the, what we find out later is a bunch of like placement services, like a job service for musicians.
Kind of like an unemployment agent, or like an unemployment agency, but for musicians.
And the speakeasy gets raided, but they're able to catch it just ahead of time, and they don't get arrested. They sneak out, and they just happen to always eke out of every situation they're in, because now you're in with the mob, and like you're trying to find a job. They're hawking money, and they bet on, was it racehorses or dogs? I think it was dogs. It was dog racing. And they just keep getting in deeper of not having money and trying to figure out a way to support themselves.
Almost selling their instruments at one point just to make some money.
Tony Curtis always kind of schmoozing and, using his charisma to kind of weasel things out of people. And one of the women that he
flirts with.
We
don't. There's not really there. We don't know how deep their relationship goes. It's never explored further. But you can definitely tell there's some kind of attraction.
Yeah.
At least from her to him. Maybe not him to her.
He stood her up.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're not attracted to someone if you stand them up.
It's very true.
You can be attracted to someone and still stand them up.
So she sets him up with a little bit of a prank of her own and sends him in to meet with one of these music agents who is currently searching for a sax and a bass player. But the trick is he's looking for women.
Yes.
For an all-women band. And
this is essentially bosom buddies.
Yeah.
If anyone's familiar with
Very...
the Tom Hanks television show Bosom Buddies,
Mhm.
it's that. Or Joanna Man. Or it's on the tip of my tongue.
Anyway, Jack Lemmon keeps pushing like, we'll just dress up as women.
Yeah, he's all for it, but Joe isn't.
Yeah, because
until
it's 3 weeks
later.
Paid travel, paid board down in Florida, away from
not Chicago,
where they had to sell their jackets, their overcoats. So it's cold.
Yeah.
And Tony Curtis, Joe, he's vehemently against it. He's like, I can't believe she set me up, blah, blah, blah. And then find out they have another gig that they can go to 100 miles outside of town. And in getting a car, well, they end up running into the mob again. This time the mafia just straight up kills a bunch of dudes and a witness.
So now they're really after them.
And so because they're so in deep and that the mob is after them and they just get out by the skin of their teeth, they dress up as women and join the band on their way to Florida.
Well, what's interesting about that is you have Tony Curtis, who originally just hates this idea, poo-poos it, doesn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, granted, yeah, there's more motivation now to do it,
mm-hmm.
but the fact that now he's saying they should do it, which if you think about it in a weird way, it kind of plays in later when it comes to their attraction to sugar.
Yeah.
Because the vibe I got going in was, because he was, just like, don't interact with nobody, behave, whatever, we're not doing nothing. And it felt like up until he saw that he was hitting it off with her,
mm-hmm.
he had no interest.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now he does. And it's kind of like, it's only a good idea when he wants to do it.
Right.
Once he has the idea, then it's okay. But until then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we all know somebody like that, I'm sure. And if you don't, it's probably you.
And with it's really interesting because they try and present, it's like, oh, I'm going to be, instead of Joe, I'm Josephine, and you're going to be Geraldine instead of Jerry. And just immediately, like, the comedy starts with, hi, I'm Josephine. Hey, I'm Daphne. And Jack Lemmon gets, his character, Jerry, gets so into the role. Like, and he's just, it's like full method acting.
Well, in a way, he forces himself into it. Because whereas Joe, he's trying to keep everything, he's trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. Yeah. Jerry, on the other hand, he's mingling. He's trying, because he's trying to get with sugar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he's trying, and he's putting himself, more out there where he's got to kind of, more so than Joe, try to really figure out who his female character is in this whole thing.
I think, and this is like a really subtle detail that I really love when it comes to like Billy Wilder movies, and in this movie in particular, if you think about it, when Joe and Jerry are the men themselves, Joe is far more confident and charismatic in that form than Jerry. When they become Daphne and Josephine, it's Jack Lemmon's character who's far more comfortable in his own skin while putting on this character, and Joe's now like really kind of struggling to figure out how to be and how to act. He keeps correcting Jerry, and really, like, Jerry's just going with the flow, and it's working. All the girls really like, and like they really like Daphne, and they like hanging out, and he's just
they have a big party in one of the bunks.
Yeah, they have a party in bunk 7.
That bunk 7, that was it.
Bunk 7, there's a party.
Yeah,
and it's really interesting, kind of. play on kind of the dynamic of their friendship and the dynamic of their personalities and how one is like just more comfortable in, which skin.
And not only that, but it also kind of flips again. So it goes from 180, then does a 360.
Yeah.
Because then you have the moment where Joe now decides to play this, this millionaire gimmick.
Yeah.
This Shell Oil tycoon or magnate or whatever word. But then you also have Jerry, who's fighting off Osgood, who just loves her to death. He loves the fact that he clearly loves her for who she is up until literally the end of the movie is just, it's so charming. It reminds me of when I watch Mrs. Doubtfire with my wife, and she really loves the interactions between Mrs. Doubtfire and the bus driver.
Yeah.
And once we get to the end, the last moment together, where he really like puts it out there, and it's just like, it's so adorable and it's so cute, but then kind of sad because like obviously it's not Daniel's not going to reciprocate that. But it's kind of fun how we get something similar in this movie, but it's in a way it's reciprocated.
And that's what's so wonderful. The writing in this film, the acting, all the performances, and I think that a lot of that goes to the actors, and a lot of it goes to Billy Wilder, because it just seems to be, you watch a Billy Wilder film, that just happens to always happen.
I mean, every character was rightly cast. But what I was saying was, and I just wanted to touch back on real quick, how it starts with one dynamic where one of the two guys is more dominant over the other, and then once we get to this new environment where they're women, now that role flips. But then we get to another one, because when Joe reverts back to a male character, now he is using that to go after Sugar. Do we mention who's played by Marilyn Monroe? Did we mention that?
Yeah.
I want to mention that. And now Jerry, he's dealing now he's back in the uncomfortable role, because now he's got to deal with Osgood. And meanwhile, Joe, he's dealing with Marilyn Monroe. And I was like, which ain't a bad place to be. You know what I mean? And so now he's got like the upper hand in the two guys' relationship. And I just thought that was kind of interesting how we go from like a 180 to another 180.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think, like I said, I think it was well done. I just, there was something off to me until like after we actually got to the end of the movie, where I was just a little weirded out that like she ends up with Joe and not Jerry.
Yeah,
but when you watch how it ends, it's like you wouldn't want it that way. But it's kind of weird up until you get to the boat. That's
another element of that, like flip-flopping, because at first Jerry's really attracted to Sugar, and Sugar's really attracted to Jerry as a friend,
right?
But he's just really attracted to her, and then because Jerry's attracted to her, Joe's also very attracted to her. I mean, she's very attractive, but it's after Jerry is able to kind of break the ice and like spend time with her, Joe becomes much more focused and like possessed to kind of go after her, and
cares enough about her to know when to stop.
Right,
and so he thinks.
Yeah, and he kind of learns that lesson in this, and it's a very different kind of arc than we see in other romance movies, where there is that kind of liar revealed kind of arc. It's very different in that he learns his lesson and goes, you know what, she deserves better than me, but in learning that lesson she becomes very much like, no, you're exactly who I want, and like all those saxophone players I've been with, you're the one I wanted to be with.
And and also comes full circle, because that bracelet that they got from Osgood, that Jerry got from Osgood, the idea was they were going to sell it.
Yeah.
And make like a bunch of money and use that to live off of until they can do their next big thing. And the fact that he gives it to her.
Yeah.
No hesitation other than shows right there the emotional growth.
Yeah. And it's another one of those, like, it's the lesson, because everything in this film is motivated for Joe and Jerry, money. They need money. They're trying to get money.
And they have their golden ticket to get money.
And they have it, a diamond bracelet. And they forego it because they've cared about these other characters that they've come across.
Well, just one forego. The other one was not very happy about it.
No.
Jerry was not very thrilled.
No, but I think
news.
What's great about Jerry is when Jerry, he may not be happy about these things. He typically goes along with Joe, and he cares about Joe too. So and he understands that. So I think it's an acceptance by the end of it. Yeah. Would you recommend it?
Yes, but no. I'm not being funny. I swear. Yes, but it's also one of those movies where I would say, watch at your own risk. And here's what I mean.
Okay.
You're not gonna find things in this movie that you probably haven't already seen in other movies, just older.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for something completely new and different, you're gonna be disappointed, I think. If that's all you want in a movie, you're gonna be disappointed by this. But if you want to kind of see, like, maybe not the origin of the archetype of this whole, like, man disguises woman to infiltrate or do whatever thing, if you don't care about that stuff, absolutely watch it. You'll have a great time. If you're someone who's like a movie person, I would say watch it as like a curiosity, watch it as a piece of history, for historical purposes. But if you're going into this thinking you're going to get something special or unique, even for the time, I don't think you're going to be as excited as you probably would be for older movies that are in the Criterion Collection. But if you just want to watch a fun movie, I would say definitely watch it. If you want to see, like I said, like a time capsule of like a certain style of a certain era, this is a great movie to watch. And I just think as long as all you want is to have a good time, it's great.
Okay, well, that's great opinion, Scott, but nobody's perfect. Anyway, I'm going to wholeheartedly recommend it. I really love Billy Wilder. I really love this film. I think it's very worth watching. Outside of, I think there's a bit of a lengthy setup.
I felt the 2-hour runtime was a little long for this. Yeah. There are quite a few things. I would say more towards the beginning.
Yeah.
That I thought could have like if I was editing the movie, I would have trimmed a bit of it. But I don't think it overstayed its welcome. I'm just saying if I could, I would cut some stuff.
For me personally, I think the opening sequence with the car chase and everything, I don't really know the necessity of it. I think we could have cut straight to the speakeasy and introduce Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis.
I think the only reasoning I can think of is it's to establish like just how bad the whole thing with the bootlegging is at the time. Yeah. Like that's all I think it is. But like I do agree you don't need it.
Yeah,
but
I'm nitpicking.
I'm okay with it because I kind of like seeing the trail.
Yeah.
But like if I watch this movie again, I probably would start it just at the speakeasy already as well.
I think obviously I'm nitpicking, but that's just for me. But I really enjoyed it. I think for the time was pretty conscious of some of these social issues and social dynamics. And I don't think it like plays into them as in like follows along. I think it's like little needles of like, don't you see how like wrong this is?
It's like free samples. Yeah. It's like samples of something bigger that's going to come along in later generations.
Yeah, I think it's really prodding it, and for a film of that time period, I think it really kind of is pushing the envelope and like kind of crawling so future movies can walk and then run, kind of addressing these issues. But I think it's a very entertaining film. I think Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon are spectacular in it as Joe and Jerry. And Marilyn Monroe's good.
She's the right person for that character.
Yeah.
Like she did it right. She was. I don't think anyone else could have made it work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's a unique archetype,
Right.
but the way she does it, it has its own flair and its own.
She has an allure and a charisma in the film that is needed for that character.
Yes.
And having Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon kind of anchor it as your leads with their ability and charisma it's just kind of a perfect kind of storm. So I'm going to give it a wholehearted recommend. But what do you think? You know, you can leave us a comment. You can like the video. You should subscribe to the channel for more of these kind of discussions of other Criterion films and plenty of other content that we create.
And hit the bell so you know when new episodes of this come along, any other Condish productions come your way. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we have you can get one of these.
Yeah, we have plenty of stuff around.
You can get a movie.
You can check out our other social media, like we're on Instagram, and we make our own shorts at times, so you can definitely check that out on the channel. And until next time, he's Scott, and I'm still Joe.
We'll see you later.